Peace, 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 power, and prosperity. What's going on, y'all? Rob Blackstorm here. Just want to say hi to you and yours. Hope you are growing, developing. Rest in peace to all the ancestors. Rest in peace to everyone who may have lost a loved one during the pandemic that we had. Much power, much peace, much prosperity, much success to everyone. We're going through a very, very interesting time right now. Things are changing at a rapid pace. And those of us who are spiritually inclined, those of us that understand that life has deeper meanings than what we see on the surface, right now is really the time that we really need to dig deep within ourselves to come up with courage, to come up with faith, and also to have a connection to the spiritual world, what the Cometians, the ancient Kemetic people, call the land of Amenta. Right now, we are in Pisces season. And being that we're in Pisces season, it's very interesting. We just went through the 2022 portal, right? And right after, on the 24th of February, Ukraine started getting invaded. And there's always a lot of wars that are going on. There's about 32 wars, 33 to 34, 32 to 34 wars going on the earth at any given time. But they have us focused in on this Ukraine versus Russia thing, right? And this Ukraine versus Russia thing is really a smokescreen for the end of the Piscean age and the ushering in of the age of Aquarius. You may have heard of the Pluto return that ushered in after 2022. The Pluto return of America is basically going through change, transformation, and destruction. Right now, we are in the end of an era. We are at the end of an era right now. We are at the end of this country, this empire is falling. It is crumbling. It is deconstructing. And you could see it in the media. Everything that is good is becoming bad. Then everything that's bad is becoming good, right? But we're also in a quickening of manifestation. This is also a great time on the flip side, if you understand this is the time for opportunity. This is the opportunity of growth. And whatever any death or transformation or change, therein lies opportunity. So let's deep dive a little bit into what's going on. Come up with some ways we could spiritually ascend during these times, the things we need to look out for, the things we need to prepare for. But first, we need to look at what's going on. So let's go into looking at some of these things that are happening right now. So let's open this up. All right, and look at, actually, let's delete this. And let's look at Ukraine, okay? So this is, as you see, this is the Ukrainian flag, okay? Now you've seen the Ukrainian flag that looks just like this with the yellow and the blue, right? And those of us that understand the chakra colors understand that blue is dealing with the third eye, or blue is really, dealing with the throat chakra, right? And the yellow is dealing with the solar plexus chakra. So if we're dealing with the throat, we're dealing with communication, right? And we're dealing with not only verbal communication, but the communication that we tell ourselves, right? The throat chakra is not just about speaking, but it's also your inner voice, you speaking to yourself. Both of those things deal with the throat chakra. And the throat chakra is ruled by a particular gland called the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is shaped like a butterfly, okay? So when you are speaking truth to power, when you are speaking up for yourself, when you are speaking in alignment with your divine essence and your divine nature, right? And those are kind of buzzwords, your divine essence, your divine nature. What does that really mean? That means your connection to what they call God. your connection to what they call the universe, your connection to a mentor, your connection to what they call the Akashic records, your connection to the part of you that controls your breathing, the part of you that is fighting off diseases, the part of you that controls your autonomous functions when you're sleeping, your cellular regeneration, fighting off microbes that are crawling in your skin right now, your red blood cells, your white blood cells, things that you are not consciously controlling, waste distribution in your body, waste release, right? Things that you are not consciously controlling. This is your God self that is within you, that is working on the micro level, right? The macro level is the universe, the universal body. So that is one thing we're dealing with when we're looking at the throat chakra and the yellow chakra, the solar plexus chakra, is what we're dealing with when we're talking about uh influence, right? And inspiration. So the solar plexus, we deal with the solar, soul, S-O-L, meaning is the Greek for sun. So we're dealing with the sun within us. So what is it that's influencing us during this time? What is it that is giving us inspiration during this time, right? So these things that are influencing us, doing with the yellow, these things that are inspiring us, and also the influence that we give to others, being the light that we shine, it influences others, right? And of course, the intention, right? The intentions that we have as well. That's the light that shines within us. So when we're looking at influence, when we're looking at insight, right? When we're dealing with these N words, right? Not the N word, but the N words, and how we express these things through the throat, through our verbal speaking to ourselves, through our mental chatter, right? This is what this looks like. But if you really look at this flag, it looks like this looks like this. When this happened, Pisces, right? Remember, they really started going into Ukraine. This is the Russians started going into Ukraine on the 24th of February. We were in the sign of Pisces. And if you see, this sign of Neptune is ruled by Pisces. Pisces symbol is two fish, right? This is the sign of Neptune. Now, we just got out of the age of Pisces, December 2020, right? When we went into the Great Conjunction, that was the symbol of the end of the age of Pisces. And we are now going in and living inside the age of Aquarius, which we just passed up and ended on February 18th. So now we're in the age of Pisces, about to go into, we're in the age of Aquarius, right? If you look at the zodiac, we're going into Aries starting on March 21st, when we're going to, and then we're about to go into the spring equinox, the summer solstice, and so forth and so on. But again, if you look at Ukraine, you see that this flag, right, looks just like Neptune. So it's not coincidence that the Ukrainian flag looks like the symbol of Neptune. And Neptune also deals with dreams, inspiration, intuition, depths, right? When you're dealing with fish, two fish, you're also looking at balance, okay? You're looking at upper man and you're looking at lower man. And upper man would be one who is in tune with the higher chakras or higher ideals or the most high within themselves, right? And then there is the lower part of you, right? There's a God man, which is the highest part of you, which would be delineated or delineated to the upper three chakras, which would be your crown chakra, your third eye chakra, your crown chakra being up here, your third eye chakra being connected to your pineal gland, and your throat chakra being your verbal communication and your inner communication. And the mastery of those things starts with the lower, mastering the lower chakras, which is the root chakra, your fear and security. Okay, are you rooted in fear? Are you rooted in fear? That's what's being spread, and that's the propaganda that's going on now. Are you rooted in fear? Or are you rooted in courage? Are you rooted in the fact that you are a God being? Are you rooted in the fact that you are a divine being? Are you rooted in the fact that you are made of stardust and that you have the ability to survive, to thrive, and to make it through any and all things as with the power of God that is within thee? This is what spirituality is about. Spirituality is just not for when times are comfortable, but spirituality is also when times are rough and when things are changing as they are now. Primarily, this is what spirituality is used for. And spirituality is balanced. There's an upper and a lower, right? There's higher thoughts and there's low thoughts. We know what low thoughts are and we know what high thoughts are. Love, joy, peace, happiness, right? And the low thoughts, fear, sadness, insecurity, right? And the way this world works in this world, and by design, this particular country here in the United States is designed to keep you rooted in a lower vibration of your lower chakras. See, people talk about the root chakra like it's just negative. No, even though it's a lower chakra and it's connected to your reproductive organs, the testicles or the ovaries, the root chakra is what are you rooted in, right? If you're rooted in your divine nature, if you're rooted in your God being, and rooted in the fact that you are, I was think about the character Venom, how the character Venom, which is also a representation of you melanin, but how the character Venom can spread himself in all things, right? This is the power that you have with your abilities, not only in magic, but in spiritual development, your ability to connect with all things, and more importantly, so you can see and be prepared for things that are happening, right? And then again, you deal with the sacral chakra, which is another lower chakra where you're dealing with uh, your spirituality and your sexuality. Okay, two things that go hand in hand. People don't see sexuality or spirituality, but when you get the Holy Ghost, it sure does feel passionate. When you are in a club and dancing and in a trance, right? Or when you're drinking that drink or smoking that smoke or taking that drug and you're in some sort of spiritual or mystical trance through these drugs or through these psychedelics or through this alcohol, a lot of times what happens? You want to have sex, okay? So your sexuality is tied into your spirituality. This is why the church doesn't want you to have sex. This is why the church is always like, oh, no sex before marriage, because they know if you tap into the spiritual energy, which is your sacred sexuality, which another word for is tantra, you'll be able to create the same way you create babies. You'll be able to create things in your life. You'll be able to create things with your wife, your husband, your loved one, your sexual partner, right? On a rapid at a rapid rate, and a much more powerful, because you're using that powerful sexual or sacred secretion, sacred energy for the ability with the ideal to develop, to grow, and to manifest, right? And to become more of the God self that you are. And then we discussed the solar plexus chakra already, right? When we're dealing with your influence, right? And your inspiration. What are you influenced by? What are you inspired by? That is your guiding light. That is your solar light, right? But it all starts with the root, then your sexuality and your spirituality, and then that leads to what you're influenced by, and that leads to what you're inspired by. And then the heart chakra connects you to all. So this is the symbol of this two fish. We are individuals, we're dual beings, right? So if we're looking at this age of Pisces, even if you look at this, right, if you turn this particular symbol to the side, this looks like the head of the man, This looks like the reproductive organ, right? 2 legs, 2 arms. So this is man, in a sense, laid down, right? And when you're laying down, what happens? You go to a so-called sleep or rest. And what do you do when you rest? You are traveling the astral realm, right? People say if you have a problem, which I've done, and it definitely does work. If you have a problem, sleep on it. Take that problem before you go to bed, reason on it, try to figure out the solutions. And then when you wake up, you usually have the answers because you have accessed the mind, the universal mind. The Kabbalion, the first lesson is the universe is mental and all is mind. So this is when you are tapped into the highest form of self, which is what this whole Pisces energy is about. Being a fish, right? Balancing the higher and lower self and using this energy. If you look at Pisces, but then you look at Neptune, it kind of looks the same. And if you look at this, these are 2 arms. This is a head. These are the 2 legs. And what does this look like? When you're happy, when you're watching sports, what do? You cheer. If you hit the lotto, you'd be like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? When you get that guy you wanted, yeah. When you get that girl you wanted, yeah, right? It's a cheering situation. It's a situation that's dealing with when you're dealing with high forms of energy, high forms of thought, high forms of joy. So this is what this planet symbolizes. You tapping into that spiritual, sacred part of yourself. This Piscean energy. So this is what it looks like if you are tapped in to how to utilize this particular energy at this time, using it for meditation, using it for prayer, using it for journaling, using it for addressing childhood trauma, using it for breaking seals of fear, using it for breaking seals of limitation, using it for getting out of survival mode, right? Your perception is what affects your reality. You could either look at the world through rose-colored glasses, or you could look at the world through poop-colored glasses. It's totally up to you, right? It's how you choose to look at the world. And this is the time that we are in. Even though the world is crumbling around you, it's really about how will you achieve you going into the depths of yourselves to bring forth joy. War is going on around you. The world is crumbling. But how will you as the individual lead? How will you as an individual bring forth joy? How will you as an individual bring forth peace, power, and prosperity at the end of the day? And if you know that you are truly a divine being, you know everything comes from the depths of the spirit or the depths of the soul. And your soul, again, is your guiding light. This is your influence. And this is your inspiration. So are you influenced by the news? Are you inspired by bad news? Does it turn you on to see something bad? Do you get a direct dopamine hit for seeing people suffer, from seeing people go through badness, right? Through talking about these things? How are you influencing others around you? What type of vibration, what type of mystical depths do you bring forth from your soul, right? So this is what we're talking about, your imagination, your emotions, right? And your influence. Again, so it's not a coincidence that this looks like this and going through this Pluto return, that everything is falling apart, right? So again, this started on February 24th, okay? But they've been knocking on the door of Ukraine. This has been happening, as this says, since 2014. And it's a real deep thing for time. I won't get into the nature of it. You could definitely look up this article if you want to understand the whole history of this Ukraine war. But basically, America's been trying to bully Russia for quite some time, trying to get Ukraine to join with NATO. And Russia hasn't been having it because of the strategic advantage of America and NATO aligning with Ukraine. So Russia is just saying, nah, y'all ain't gonna take this, we gonna take this, right? So honestly, it's not really the problem of the melanated man and woman. We have enough problems of our own. Teen suicide is at an all-time high from amongst melanated people. At an all-time high. Children are dying. Poverty is at an all-time high. We see what's happening with gas. We see what's happening with food. We see what's happening with everything around us. We see what's happening with people dying. We see what's happening with we see what's happening all across the world, right? People are just trying to recover. People are just so-called recovering from this pandemic, right? Just trying to get back on their feet. Restaurants are just opening back up. A lot of stores and businesses are opening back up. And we see the stock market is crashing. Rents are going up. Homes are more expensive, right? A lot is going on right now. And if you're not tapped into the depths of who you are and what you really are and your higher and lower nature, and your lower nature, that's not necessarily just a bad thing, right? You need your lower nature. You need to be rooted into something. You need your sacred sexuality, right? You need your spirituality. You need to be tapped into your influence. You need to be tapped into your intentions. You need to be tapped into your inspiration, right? And it all starts with the root. So you need your lower self the same way you need your higher self. You need to be able to reason. You need to be logically intelligent, right? You need to be emotionally intelligent. You need to know that you have a crown. You need to be getting your downloads. You need to be out in nature. So you could look at this as an invasion, or you could look at this as a call for spiritual initiation. Because again, this has nothing to do with us physically, right? And you know they're talking about this whole nuclear deterrent. Don't fall for none of that, right? Don't fall for none of that. And the reason you don't want to fall for any of that nuclear deterrent talk from Russia is because most, and we all know, the Jewish community, right? They're big, obviously, in America, and America has ties to Israel. But the key factor in this is that majority, or they're not a majority, but a large part of Jewish people in Israel speak Russian. There's a ton of Russian Jews. There's a lot here in New York City. So if you think that the Jewish people who have monopoly over industry, film, entertainment, current, pretty much run roughshod over the financial markets, if you think they're just going to let some sort of nuclear bomb come and wipe us all out, you got to be crazy, right? This is all coordinated, and you have to see what's coming. So we'll get into a little bit of that right now. So the signs and symbols, the astrology is correct. After 222, this war happened. This is the end of the age of Pisces, showing you that we're going to the age of Aquarius, the age of invention, the age of ideas, the age of creation, and the age of community, okay? Now, there's going to be an internet shutdown, okay? Internet shutdown is coming soon. If you don't think so, you're bugging out, all right? Charles Schwab from the World Economic Forum, right? They've been talking about this great reset, and they keep hinting at it, keep poking at it, keep talking about it, and look at what's happening. Now, Tonga, there was an eruption, an underwater volcano. Pull it up, just so you can know what I'm talking about, because things move so fast, you might have forgot. So let's see if I could get an image. This was one of the most widely shared images. If you remember this image of, or those of you, who remember this image of this big eruption coming out of the sea, right? And giving us a large ash cloud. So what Elon Musk has done is Elon Musk said, yo, don't worry, Tonga, I got you. We're going to put Starlink internet. Now, Starlink internet is part of Elon Musk's plan to have, which he already has launched, tons of satellites covering the whole globe, with this Starlink internet. The Starlink internet is designed so that, how do I explain this? It's designed basically so that people could get access to the internet via his satellites, right? So it's a free internet service. And the grand plan is to have this Starlink internet all over the place, and in particular to serve low income communities all over the world, right? You know, whenever they give you something free, you are the whenever they give you something free, that means you are the product. Social media is free because you're the product, right? Facebook, because they sell your data. So you're the product when you're using any form of social media. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, they're selling your information. So that's why you can log in there for free, because they're marketing things to you and they're selling ads. So you're ultimately the product. So it says tech billionaire Elon Musk offered to provide Starlink internet on the nation of Tonga on Tuesday after a massive underwater volcanic eruption and subsequent to tsunami knocked service and subsequent, that's written wrong, and subsequent to tsunami knocked service offline this week. So he was ran to put this internet in Tonga, right? Oh, Elon Musk is this great guy, right? But I don't know if you watch Don't Look Up, but that scientist that they portrayed in the movie Don't Look Up, which is on Netflix with Leonardo DiCaprio, the scientist was representation of Elon Musk. Remember the last time that we had a big movie with a lot of stars like that, right? Was called Contagion. And Contagion came out way before the CV-19 came out, right? Before the CV-19 hit. We already had this particular movie. So there's predictive programming. So what are they trying to tell us with Don't Look Up, right? There's going to come a point where this internet is going to be shut down, right? And I also think they're predicting a Carrington event, so where there's a solar flare that is going to knock out all of the service here. But I also think there's going to be a cyber attack that's going to knock out all the service here. Because if they shut down the internet, it is going to be much easier for this to happen, for Elon Musk to offer Starlink to everybody, okay? But look at also what's happening. Look at where else Elon is going. He's sending Starlink terminals to Ukraine, okay? So this is happening slowly but surely, where this free internet is being provided. Is it free internet or is it free surveillance? All right. So we got to look at these things, family. Even though we say we are spiritual and we say we are occult and we say we are dealing with magic, it does not mean that you are not here in this world, right? There's a spiritual part of you and there's a physical part of you. And we have to also look at the physical world so we know how to move forward. The whole notion of understanding history and understanding spirituality is so we don't repeat the same mistakes. And seeing what's happening, right? Are melanated people in particular prepared? Are they innovating? All right, let's move on. So there's going to be an internet shutdown, I believe, sometime this year. So prepare for that. And how do you prepare for that? Right? Keep some cash on hand. Keep some cash under the mattress, right? Because if they shut down the internet, you're not going to have access to your money. You're not going to be able to go to the ATM. You're not going to be able to go to the bank. Okay. In fact, banks are closing record numbers of has closed record numbers of retail banks. Okay. All of a sudden, right? This article is from January of this year. So on net, U.S. banks shuttered 2,927 banks. Okay. And they're saying that it is because more people are doing digital banking, all right? Saying more people are doing digital banking. So the conversion of this fiat cash into cryptocurrency is a real thing. And if you've been looking at anything, you see that Joe Biden has also Joe Biden has also passed a law that he's going to be looking into setting up a cryptocurrency for America. All right, so you guys want to be looking into how to get into cryptocurrency, learning more about it, and seeing how you can invest, because that is going to be the future of money. You don't want to wait until everything collapses and then have to be dependent again on this particular government. If you are a God being, that means you are a sovereign citizen. That means you have sovereignty, right? And having sovereignty means that you have the ability to do for self. You have the ability to have liberty. But if you are dependent on the government, then you are not doing for self. You are depending on someone to do for you. And you never want to be in that position. You always want to have a plan A and a plan B. This is what a spiritual person truly does. They prepare for the future, right? Kanye said last month was Black Future Month, and I agree with him. We have to get on point. We really have to get on point, and we really have to, most importantly, tap our children into what's going on and prepare them for the future, prepare them for what's happening. It's not really about us that are older, right? But it is on us to lead, it is on us to guide, and it is on us to be prepared so that we're not caught holding the bag, right? And again, we want to be tuned into our communication to self, our communication to others. And again, that's that blue, that third chakra from the flag of Ukraine. And we want to be tapped into that solar plexus chakra, which is what we are influenced by, what influences us, right? And also what inspires us, what raises our frequency. And if it is negativity, if it is bad news, if it is shade, if it is jealousy, if it is hate, we have to figure out why. And this is where the shadow work comes in. So also what's happening right now, there is an upcoming food shortage, okay? So there's a food shortage 2022. Says there will likely be a canned food shortage in 2022. High prices and low availability of aluminum may cause canned food and beverage shortages this year, much like the end of 2021, all right? Canned foods, of course, are not really the best for you. They have a lot of preservatives, but in a time of crisis, they're very easy. It's very easy to pop open a can of tuna fish. It's very easy to pop open a can of, I don't know, beans or Chef Boyardee or something that's prepackaged, right? Canned food is what people usually want to keep during the crisis. So it says expects not just the canned food, but also canned pet food, shortage of imported goods, all right? There's a food shortage that they are predicting that is coming this year. And we already see that there's, even towards the end of 2021, me for myself, I started seeing bare shelves, all right? Where there's not a lot of food out there, right? Remember what happened when the Rona first hit? The same thing, there were bare shelves. But what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? People can't order DoorDash, people can't order Uber Eats, Grubhub, right? And people are gonna have to go to the supermarket to get their food. The restaurants are gonna shut down. Do you know where your farmers markets are? Do you know where your farmers markets are without the internet? Do you have a way to get farm raised food? These are the things you want to look into now before it gets too late. Again, truly spiritual people, truly occult people, prepare, all right? Because there's going to be a canned food shortage of imported goods, cheeses, other foreign produced items, pet food storage, bottled water and soda shortages may occur, okay? Toilet paper, paper towels. Say no to noodles, the ramen, son, the ramen. A college student's and a poor person's and a single man's favorite food. That's going to be in a pasta shortage, okay? This is what's going down. Cyber attacks have been happening. You don't really know about it, you don't hear about it, but cyber attacks have been happening, especially in Europe. A ton of cyber attacks. All right, it's going to start happening here. All right, Russia this is something that Russia has already done. They have already done this. Let me show you. Let me show you. This is in March 2021. Russian hackers broke into federal agencies, U.S. officials suspect. In one of the most sophisticated and perhaps largest hacks in more than 5 years, email systems were breached at the Treasury and Commerce departments. Other breaches are under investigation, all right? So this has already happened. This does not make big mainstream news. Most people don't know about this. They only think about the election. But they act like America doesn't go around and destabilize countries all the time. But they have the nerve to complain about a stolen election from Russia, right? That Russia influenced the election with Trump. And maybe they did. But this is something that America does all around the world. All right. So again, you want to be on point. This is serious. This is CNN. This is just Saturday, March 12th. All right. As I'm recording this, this is, well, it's the 14th because I'm recording this after midnight, but this is still Sunday. So this is the 13th. Let me get this off of here. If I can, maybe I can't. No, I think that's what to see that. So yeah, war has brought the world to the brink of a food crisis. All right. Fertilizer is going up. Global knock-on effects for global food supplies. It says it's not whether we're going to have a food crisis, it's how large that crisis will be. All right. Russia produces a lot of wheat. Okay. Biggest problem is wheat. Okay. Account for almost 30% of global wheat trade. We know there's a lot of wheat bread eating. People are going vegan. People are trying to eat healthier. All right. You should not be eating white bread. Hopefully, you're not eating white bread in 2022. That bleached bread that has no nutritional value. You in 2022, if you're still eating white bread, you're bugging. All right, you're bugging unless for some reason you're allergic to wheat or allergic to gluten. But even then, they have other alternatives in bread that you could get, such as Ezekiel bread. But you should not be eating white bread. Nothing white is good. White bread, white rice, white pasta. Try to stay away from it as much as possible. But they're talking about Egypt banned the export of wheat, flour, lentils, and beans. Okay. Indonesia is tying exports on palm oil. All right. So this is a big deal. There's going to be a food. Again, do you know where you're going to get food? Do you know how to raise your own food? Are you able to cultivate food in your house? Have an indoor garden. They sell them on Amazon. All right, where you can have your own indoor garden where you could grow small things like potatoes. You could grow your own mint teas and stuff like that. You grow apples, oranges, et cetera, right? But if you don't want to do that, or if you don't have the space, do you know where to go to get food? Because if you can't go to the supermarket and there's a food crisis, you still got to eat to survive. So you got to be on point, all right? You got to be ahead of the 8 ball. And if your spiritual teacher is not teaching you to look at these things rather than look at the doom and gloom, right? And you can say this is doom and gloom, but it's not what happens to you. It's how you react to what happens to you. It's never what happens to you. A person that has the third eye of God is not looking at what's happening. It's looking beneath. A third eye of God is one that looks beneath the surface. If you're looking from the third eye, you're looking from not what you see on the surface. You're always looking beneath the surface, because beneath the surface is where the solution is. The surface is where the bullshit is, right? So there's going to be a digital currency, as I said. This is what's happening. You see all these banks are closing. And this is not happening for no reason. So just wanted to show y'all what's happening, what's going on. You know, there's a lot of talk about a lot of different things. And, you know, when this first happened a couple of weeks ago, they were showing all these African people that couldn't leave Ukraine and were going into and couldn't get into Poland and couldn't get on the trains and things like that. I have empathy for everyone. I have empathy for everybody, especially melanated beings, right? Because I am a melanated being. I have empathy, but I also know all skin folks are not kin folks, right? So I keep that in mind that even amongst melanated beings, there are individual tribes and there are people that are melanated that look like me that want to shoot me dead, that want to rob me, that want to take everything that I have from me, right? This is just the reality, and this is just a fact. There's, you would have to think of some utopian ideal where all people that are black are going to one day get together, which could never happen because all people that are black do not think the same. Okay, the Jamaican doesn't think like the African doesn't think like the Aboriginal in Australia. The Aboriginal in Australia does not think like the melanated man in Europe, in England, in the UK, the American, the dark-skinned Mexican, the dark-skinned Puerto Rican, the dark-skinned Peruvian, and so forth and so on. All melanated beings don't think alike. So you really have to come to the point of understanding what's important. Is what important to you, what's happening to the Africans and stressing yourself out? You have a limited energy bar throughout the day. Very limited amounts of energy that you can utilize. It's like a video game character. When you go to start a video game character, right? And you're playing an action adventure game, there's an energy bar. And you go through different obstacles. And depending on how you deal with those obstacles, it determines whether you find different gems or rubies or gifts that allows you to get more energy, or if you're constantly fighting, dealing with enemies, being jumped on by different stressors and different problems as you go on your journey in the video game, and will determine how much energy you lose till eventually that if you lose too much energy, it takes you out the game. And a lot of us are spending our energy on BS. We're spending our energy worrying about what's happening in Africans in Ukraine. We're worried about what's happening to Whoopi Goldberg. We're worried about Joe Rogan saying the N word. We're worried about, uh, police officers not getting charged in certain cases and stuff like that. We're worried and fearful and worried and fearful and worried. There has to be a change of direction. You have to focus on you and your family. You have to focus on guiding yourself. There's no one coming to save you. There's no Jesus coming out of the sky. There's no aliens coming out the sky. There's no Messiah, no black leader, no white leader, no president, no Trump, no Biden, no Hillary. No one's coming to save you. You have to learn to save yourself. And the way you save yourself is by being connected to your spiritual nature. And that spiritual nature will lead to a spiritual culture. And your spiritual culture is what you're rooted to. Your spiritual culture, it alleviates fear, it alleviates anxiety, it alleviates stress, because you know that you have the power of the divine in you and you have access to the power of the divine. And the power of the divine is really about you having the ability to invoke deific energy, to invoke the power of the quote unquote gods, the power of the Netaru, Netaru meaning nature, and put on a different energy depending on the situation. There's sometimes you have to be like Horus, where you have to be bold and go against the grain. There's times you have to be like Yemaya, to be in the flow of things, to understand the current of the times, to be nurturing. There's times you have to be like Herakuti or Ogun. You have to be in a warlike state, where you have to be in a state of where you demand justice and where you're going to get justice no matter what, but where you're going to make sure that you're respected, right? Or where you're just going to defend yourself from all opposition, opponents, haters, things like that, right? People trying to put you down, people trying to dim your light. And these are different deific, different natural energies. These are different parts of the spirit that you could develop and utilize and put on yourself. So when you're working with different deities, these are the times for that. There's times where you want to be wise and speak and use and use certain language. There's times that you want to create, right? You might tap into Tahuti. There's times when you want to use a whole bunch of spiritual power where you tap into Bina or Sekert in the Kemetic tradition. There's different deities, and we're talking about the Kabbalistic tree of life or the Kemetic tree of life. And I did a video on that way back, comparing the Kabbalah to the Kemetic tree of life. But now is the time that we want to dive into these spiritual truths so that we have a sincere spiritual foundation. And it's not just on some woo-woo, if I fart pixie dust, that things are just going to magically happen. Any spell worker, any root worker, any person who deals with mysticism, any person who deals with esoteric culture and esoteric knowledge, esoteric wisdom, true gnosis, knows that it has to be part of your culture. It has to be part of your way of life. You want to be constantly influenced and inspired to rise to your highest self, no matter what happens. Yes, things happen, things set you back, things push you back. But again, it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to it. So before you're thinking about Africa, before you're thinking about some parents that lost their child, ask yourself, are you becoming the Most High within yourself? Are you working on mastering self? Are you worried about becoming the best version of yourself while you are here? Are you doing things on a repetitious basis that are going to get you into becoming the person you want to be, the person you need to be, and the person that could best lead your family, the person that could best help your tribe, right? You don't always have to be a leader. You could be a person you don't have to always be a leader. You could be a soldier. You don't always have to be a general, right? Depends on the situation. But you want to be in a position to contribute. You want to be in a position to help. The person you are on this planet, you are here to know thyself. That is the first rule of spiritual development, of self-mastery, is to know thyself. Then second is to change your name. You should have a divine name. You should have a name apart from your government name. There should be a personality, just like Beyonce has Sasha Fierce, right? There should be a personality that you could tap into, that when you're going through your day-to-day life and when you hear things like this, you like, nah, I'm Rob Blackstorm. You crazy? I ain't gonna slip. I'm prepared, right? If something happens, I'm prepared. If things shift left or right, I'm prepared. I got money under the mattress. I got some cryptocurrency, right? I'm making sure I'm putting myself in positions so that I'm not caught off guard, because I understand the empire is crumbling. I also predict in 2025 onward, there's going to be a great migration out of America, because America is going to get so bad as it starts to stabilize that people are going to want to leave. And not just to Africa, to different parts of the world where they are able to thrive and be more successful. But the empire is falling. Are you going to fall with it? Or are you going to be tuned into a mentor? Are you going to be tuned into the Akasha? Or are you going to be tuned into the divine? We're talking about the energy of Pisces, the fish, right? We're swimming in oxygen right now. We're swimming in oxygen. We're breathing in oxygen, breathing out carbon dioxide. We're swimming. You can't see the Wi-Fi signals. You can't see the 5G. You can't see the oxygen. But we're swimming right now in all these particular elements. So we are like the fish swimming in the waters. So we have to really use this Neptunian energy and going into this Aries energy, coming out of going within and getting ready to push things out, getting ready to create. We need metaphysical materialism. We need startups. We need STEM programs. And I'm talking really for the kids, right? We want our kids to learn these. Those of us that are older, yes, we want to collaborate. We want to get together. is when the 2022 year, 2022, take out the zero, so 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. 6 is sex coming together, right? But there's also, obviously, the enemy knows that. So the enemy is trying to separate that. This is why they're pushing the LBGTQ thing so hard, right? Say what you want, LBT, whatever community, but can't create life like that, right? You can't produce babies, you can't produce youth, you can't produce the extension of your legacy that way. And there's always more heterosexual people than there are LGBTQ. It's just the way it is. This babies come together through the union of masculine and feminine energy. There is a penis, a key, and there is a lock, the vagina, right? Even the way men and women interact, right? Women have to be more cautious with who they give their vagina to, so it has to have some sort of lock. And men generally want to open everyone's lock, right? So there's definitely a difference in energy, but they are complementary. The higher and lower self is just like the masculine and feminine self. And honestly, the higher you go in spiritual development, the more you are in tune with the feminine nature, because the feminine nature is a birthing energy. But there's also that masculine energy, which deals with how you're rooted, which deals with your light, how you're influenced, right? How you're inspired, what direction you're going to go, right? Your sexuality, your spirituality, your sacral, right? So these are masculine directing, erect energies, right? They're not receptive energies like the higher chakras are, right? Crown is receptive. The third eye is corresponding to the moon. It's receptive, right? Even the throat chakra, right? You think thoughts that have words inside your head. Sometimes you think a thought and you don't even know where it comes from. You don't even know, where did you get this idea? Why are you saying this to yourself, right? And that's where the downloads come as well, through thoughts, through words. So sometimes through visions, right? Third eye. So again, it's about balance at the end of the day. All this race and this construct of Black, being African American, ADOS, FBA, all that is dead. You got to know you're a divine being. And if you know you're a divine being, if you know you have the power of God within, if you have faith in the power of God within, and you're not waiting on some outside force, whether it be a God, a deity, a Jesus, Allah, Muhammad, or anything else to come back, or alien, anything to come back to save you, and you know that you have to save yourself. Those people of any race, class, or creed, those are the people you need to start aligning with. Because as things shut down, you're going to need to have communities. You're going to need to surround yourself with people that think like you, that people have a foundation that you have, the people that have principles that you have, and people that are going in the same direction of peace, of power, prosperity, right? And most importantly, survival, because that's what it's all about. You want to survive so you could thrive. So we need metaphysical materialism. We need to have I'm going to end it with this. Elijah Muhammad was a genius, the founder of the Nation of Islam. He was a genius. And the reason he was a genius, because he realized this. He basically used the Nation of Islam, which is lightweight masonry, lightweight Freemasonry. He used that as a spiritual foundation. And then he was able to buy farms and schools and temples and stores. At one point, the Nation of Islam had thriving businesses in every major metropolitan area. It's only when his son, Wallace, took over, when he took over from Elijah Muhammad, he gave it all away to the Arab Muslims. And as you see, we don't have those things anymore. But when he had his spiritual foundation intact, he was able to motivate, clean up, heal, right? Inspire a nation of Black people, a nation of melanated beings. And he did that through his spiritual foundation. So we want to look to the past to know how we'll move forward in the future. We know what our spiritual foundation is. We have the candles, we have the herbs, we have the Veves, we have the sacred geometry, we know about the Kundalini, we understand chakras, and if we don't, these are things that we are learning. Make sure you're passing these things on to your kids. Make sure that you're telling the people that you love. All right. And if they're not down with it, then you have to not be down with them. And you have to create your own community. You have to, and your community could just be a network of friends. Your community could be, but your community first and foremost should be your family. Your family, if you do magic, your family should know that. If you're into spiritual culture, your family should know that. If you're still on the fence and you're waiting for Jesus to come, you're still going to the church. Now, don't get me wrong, the church, why a lot of people like churches and stuff is because of the community aspect. There's a lot of people that are there. But are these people that are there, right? Are they in service of their true higher self? Are they there to look good? Are they there to listen to the song and dance? Or are they there to carry on the culture? Because a book can't save you. Reading one book and praying over one book when there's a whole universe filled with information is crazy. So we need metaphysical materialism, money, institutions, warehouse, coders, designers. We're going into a time where they're having cars, driverless cars. Where's the melanated man's version of the driverless car? Where's the melanated man's version of an electric vehicle? Where's a melanated man's version of a social media that's popping? Where's the melanated man's metaverse? So we're all ready to go into our so-called oppressors, right? Because that's what y'all say. Y'all so-called oppressors way of life, but we're still using our oppressors' internet. But from what I see, or from what I see, and I'll bring this up lastly, they are Georgia Tech. And I'm trying to bring up this article. I don't know if I'm going to find it. But Georgia Tech, I can't find it right now. But Georgia Tech, yeah, I can't find it right now, guys. But Georgia Tech is producing, Georgia Tech is in Atlanta. And Georgia Tech is producing the most tech savvy people in America. These are melanated people. And guess who I'm sure they're giving their designs to? Google, Tesla, Yahoo, all these other companies are benefiting from our genius. They are grooming people from Georgia Tech to work at these companies. Why aren't we creating and innovating using our own technology? Are we not geniuses? Are we not people who create great things? Are we not the people who made pyramids? Are we not the people that influence society? Are we just going to focus on high value man? Are we just going to focus on modern women? Are we going to focus on Cardi B versus Tasha K? Are we going to just focus on gossip? Like, is this where our energy bar is going all day? And is this what our kids are viewing our energy bar going to all day? Is this what we're talking about all day? Do our throat chakra? These are the things that we're thinking about, we're putting our energy towards? Or are we trying to get ahead? Get your money, make your money. Right now is one of the best times to invest because the stock market is falling. Everything is changing. Everything is changing. We're going into, again, electric vehicle space, charging stations. What are you doing with your money? You're still buying Gucci, Louis to try to impress people. You're still buying cars you can't afford to impress people. The gas is high now. The car notes are going up. The car prices are going up. Everything's going up, except paychecks. Are you innovating? If the internet shuts down, do you have another way of making money? Do you know which way you're going to pivot? Do you have a physical product that you could sell? You have a physical item that you could go out in the street, set up a table and bust down and make something happen so that you could feed yourself and your family, that you could take care of yourself and your family and pay your bills. Metaphysical materialism. This is when you put your magic and your altar to work. This is when you alter your reality. This is when you use your Oshun energy for real, so that you could create beauty in your life. This is when you use your Yamaya energy for real, so that you can nurture and teach your children. This is when you are tapped into your Heru energy so that you are not swept up in the emotions of all the things that you're being fed, and you have your third eye on the prize. You are soaring with the eyes of the falcon. Soaring with the eyes of the falcon, seeing above, seeing the forest for the trees. And your ultimate goal is self-mastery, but now it's also tied into your survival. And those that aren't, and those who don't have any tie to any type of spirituality or spiritual culture that is indigenous, especially melanated people that's indigenous, leave Jesus to the Europeans. That's their God. It looks like them. Get into your Veves, your Voodoo, your Palo, your Lukami. Your Hermeticism, your quote-unquote occult knowledge. This is where you come from. You don't come from Jesus. You don't come from Allah. You come from Veves. You come from skulls and bones and sacred geometry and herbalism and nature and the sun, the moon, and the stars. You worshiped and honored and went along with nature. This is what we come from. This is why we make music so great, because music is the harmony of nature. There's many videos on the internet with animals dancing to music, hearing sounds, and I put this on my Instagram story where they had this dog. They had the tuning forks, and the dog was just vibing to the tuning fork, calm as hell. Are you listening to different frequencies? 432 hertz, 33 hertz, theta waves, alpha waves, gamma waves. You could leave these frequencies on while you go to work, or leave these frequencies on in the background if you're working through home, and you'll get different information. You'll get different downloads based on the frequency that's pumping out, because they got the 5G frequency pumping out. And you see what's happening, the chaos that's out here. You see how people are moving. So it's up to you, it's up to us to grow into our divine self and move into that. With that said, take care, peace, power, and prosperity. Rob Blackstorm. I'll see y'all next time. And let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think this World War III is going to destroy us? Do you think it's the end for us? If you have any solutions, put them in the comments. Do you think my solutions make sense? All right. Do you have any investments in cryptocurrencies and stocks? Do you have in your city, do you know where the farmers markets are? Put it in the comments. Each one teach one. Let's help each other as a community. Again, peace, power, and prosperity. Rob Blackstorm. I love y'all.